calling all the basic bitches.
You're basic.
It is Bobby Roast Beef here with Jigs and friggin' Biggs. Man, we got one hell of a show. We got lots to talk about. Joe has suffered a little bit of an injury that may end his fishing season, which is just brutal. He's got the blow-by-blow of exactly what happened. It's a little bit intense and kind of crazy. And we also have, we're hot off the heels of the August slot limit tournament. And it was a grinder. It was insane. We're going to go over the preliminary results of how that turned out. We're going to be judging some fish today and getting that all handled and doing payments this week. But it was a wild, wild ride. Your boy Bobby Roast Beef finally checked a box off of something that he wanted to get done this summer. We're going to talk about that, and it is paying off. It's already, I'm feeling really positive about it. So it's going to be good stuff. Plus, we have 4 different live well questions, an amazing FTG, and we're talking about the fall transition. What happens? What can you plan for? Why does it happen? And why can it be so tricky for some anglers out there on the water to go and get a bite in this, the most basic bitch season of them all? Get your goddamn Ugg boots on. It is time to party. Bobby Roast Beef, Jigs and Biggs. Here we go. We'll be back after this. Before we start this fine program, Joseph, I need. Do you see what's in my hands right here?
A Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee.
A Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee, which typically I would say, fuck you all day too. But I don't know, there's a little condensation here. I don't know if you can read that label. Oh, I'm dripping water on my laptop.
Oh, I see it. I see what you're getting at.
It says Nutty Pumpkin. And I'll tell you what, Bobby Roast Beef is...
Oh, see, I was looking at the number. Look at the number.
Oh, yeah, the number's 420. The order number, that right there is just fucking magical. I did, in fact, I took a screenshot. I sent it to a bunch of friends. I was like, look at that. Yeah, the number is 420. No, this is a Nutty Pumpkin. And it is a... I have slipped. There's some Bobby Roast Beef behavior, pre-COVID roast beef behavior has started to slip back into play. See, I played that little intro, which is a buzzer from my trivia, because this year I'm letting the basic bitch fly. I'm just letting it go because I live in a house that is chock full of women that love the pumpkin spice. I can't escape it. There are several items in my refrigerator, right out there, right upstairs that are pumpkin spice flavored, and I just can't. And so I like to indulge. I do like the Nutty Pumpkin, which those of you that are like, what the fuck is this fat bastard talking about? The Nutty Pumpkin is just an iced coffee that's got the pumpkin syrup and the hazelnut flavor shot in there. I mod the hell out of this though. I adjust it down to half the amount of crap because I still like to actually taste the coffee, even though their coffee tastes like it's lowest tier. But it is what it is. It's here we are. We're living our best life. I'm embracing it this year is what I'm getting at. It's not officially fall. As someone with a September birthday, it is not officially fall, and my birthday is in the summer. But I'll tell you, it's starting to get cool in the mornings, and I'm not mad at that.
Hate it.
Really? This is
this weather I'm okay with, but it's just knowing that what's to come that I hate.
Yeah, it's for me. It starts to hit about mid-November, maybe even early December. Some years where I'm just I'm not with it. And already Todd Sefton, he's jumping in. He's like, I hate it. He's like, time to head south. I hate the cold. It is brutal. The winters up here, and the older I get, the worse it is. I recently had a realization. I adjusted my plans. I was thinking about spending my birthday out in the Allegheny area, but I'm like, all I want to do is just kind of collab and do some shit, and I kind of want to stay a little bit closer if I can. Yeah. And I think I'm heading to the Cape.
There you go.
Because this weekend is the end of prime season for the Cape, so the traffic situation should be a little bit better.
Yeah. I'm supposed to go to the Cape next weekend for a night.
Oh, really? Nice.
Got a guy's weekend.
Oh, there you go.
Some guys from work and stuff. Yeah.
That's cool. And yeah, I'm thinking, I was like, I have this urge to make like steak and some kind of fancy side dish outdoors. And I'm like, yeah, I was like, we'll go to the Cape, fuck it. Well, I haven't been since the spring before Memorial Day. And now that I think the time might be right, but welcome everybody to Jigs and Bigs. Here I am just yammering on and on and on, but man, we have a show to get to. Let's talk about like a little bit of housekeeping for those of you that have never listened to the show before. This is a fishy podcast. We do talk lots of fishing, primarily fishing and fishy adjacent topics. So you might hear us talk about, dining, or you might hear us talking about travel, anything like that on this show. But generally, the core discussion is fishing overall. If you like what you're hearing and you want to find out more about the show, follow us on social media. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. Everything is at Jigs and Bigs. Individually, you can also follow Bobby Roast Beef, but my co-host, who the fuck is Joe Brown, you can follow on as American Vet Fishing. And that's on YouTube as well. Follow Jigs and Bigs on YouTube. You can get the podcast there. We're on every single podcast platform you could possibly want. And if you're really into this show, like Todd Sefton, he's watching the recording of this show so he can chime in. He gets access that way because he's a member of our Patreon. He's one of our jig heads is what it is. And you can go ahead and do that. All this information is over at jigsandbigs.com, as well as links for like merch, all kinds of great stuff. So if you want to be, decked out and get your own going out hat for the 25-26 season, make it a Jigs and Bigs hat like this one. As far as all that goes, let's jump into it. So Joe, everybody's going to want to know what the hell happened.
So I'm in the garage, right? Okay. So I'm in the garage and
you were working on the boat, right?
No.
Oh,
that's
you weren't.
The worst part.
Oh, okay. I thought you were working on the boat.
I was just putting something down I was putting something down in the garage, like it was in my, I have my bait dungeon, like fishing dungeon area in my garage where it's just like my fishing stuff, my my counter that I do all my work on my reels, all that where I record on occasion. And so I was putting something on the bottom shelf and I was kind of like down on I was down on like all fours on my hands and knees, kind of like get the jokes out. So, I had like my left hand down on the concrete and I was like reaching in to like pull something back. And my like shoulder bumped the shelf. They're like those plastic shelves that you get from whatever. As I bump it, dude, I have my pedestals for my butt seats on my boat up at the top.
Gotcha.
And somehow when I bumped it, one of them rolled off from like 6 feet up and landed on my hand. On the hand that was down on the floor, on the garage floor.
Those are heavy duty.
Yeah, dude. They're probably like 8 pounds, something like that.
Oh, yeah, easily. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude. Christ. I instantly was like, I have a pretty high pain tolerance, I like to think. And I was like, when it, and I'm down there by myself, when it happened, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to pass out. Like it hurt that bad, like type deal.
That's rough.
And, so like finally when I like composed myself, I just go upstairs. I'm kind of holding my hand and, like Meg, like immediately looks at, she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing. I'm good. She's like, what? She's like, what's wrong, you weirdo? Like, why are you being weird? I was like, no, I'm fine. And she's like, okay. So I like, it was kind of one of those, like, I'm just going to walk around. I'm just going to walk it off. I'm going to walk it off. So I'm just walking around the house and she's like, what is like, finally, she's like, what is going, cause I didn't even tell her. Like, she's like, what'd you do? Like, what's going on? And I just go like this. And she's like, you need to go to the ER right now. She's like, what the fuck did you do? And she's like, and the first thing, because it's my left hand, she's like, get your ring off immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I popped my ring off and, dude, it like immediately was just like double the size, my thumb. And, cause it hit like on the backside, like right here.
Oh, yeah. So like the backside of the meaty part of your hand. Oh,
yep. So I go to the ER And so this is the night before the first day of school for all the kids.
Oh, of course.
So obviously, you know what I mean? So she's like, okay, what can like, I can see if like your sister, I was like, no, I was like, I will drive myself to ER. Like I will be fine. Like it's just a thumb. So I go to Harrington Hospital in Southbridge, Mass. Okay. Mm-hmm. For the users that listen, don't ever go to that hospital ever. So I go, dude, I it's been a long time since I've been to the ER.
Yep.
And like now I know why there's so many like TikTok videos and people bitching about the healthcare system. I literally felt as though I was just like a nuisance to them while I was
100%.
there.
Yeah.
Like I was just an inconvenience. Like they just made me feel like an inconvenience. Like, but you have like all this riffraff in there. And dude, there was a guy in there in front of me who he was in the ER because his new glasses were irritating the side of his nose. Mm-hmm. I couldn't believe it. And
believe it.
So anyway, so the doc's like, so again, he's like the x-ray's a little foggy because it's so swollen, but I don't see any fractures or anything. So we'll have the nurse wrap you up and you just follow up with your primary care if it still hurts.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So the nurse comes over, dude. She's got a lace bandage. She goes, they don't teach you how to wrap thumbs in nursing school.
Oh no.
I'm like, oh my God.
You're like, I'm fucked.
Dude, she's like, yeah, like, dude, it hurts so bad. Like I was in a shit ton of pain and she like started to grab it like it was a fucking Atari joystick, dude. And I'm like, to move it around and try to wrap it, dude. I was like, I started to get like I'm getting a little flushed, like I might pass. And like, so anyway, so she finally gets it and I'm pissed. Like, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? It is like, it's all fucked up. She like, it was just like, this was from the orthopedic. So it was just an ace bandage. Like it looked fucking retarded, dude. And, as I'm walking out, I'm like, this is fucking stupid. As I'm walking out, like it just goes and like unravels. I'm like, whatever. I'm like,
yeah.
So fast forward a couple days, I go to work and I'm like, I find out there's this like, cause I'm like, man, something's not right. Like it's just blowing up. It's like, I can't move the thumb at all. Like I can't move my index. I was like, there's something going on. Like it's weird, not right. And, I go to orthopedic urgent care by my work. And for like a second opinion, and I walk in and the dude's like, wow, your thumb looks really broken. I was like the physician, I was like, it doesn't feel good. He goes, it doesn't look good.
No.
So he's like, fuck. He's like, when did this happen? At this point, it was like 4 days ago, 3-4 days ago. He's like, Jesus. He's like, really? I was like, yeah, dude. I told him the ER story. He's like, ugh. He's like, yeah, I get that. And he's like, all right, we need to get you another x-ray and like, we need to figure this out. So I get another x-ray and he's like, dude, it's going to be broken. It's not.
Yeah.
He doesn't see anything. He's like, it's still a little foggy. It's still swollen, but I don't see anything. I was like, okay, like, that's good. He's like, not really. Yeah. I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, with how swollen and bruised that is, dude, like this far, he's like, you may have popped a ligament or a tendon. He's like, you need to get an MRI like immediately. I was like, fuck. So that's he puts it in this thing. He's like, dude, we need to splint that thing. I told him
you don't want to move it at all.
Yeah, he's like, they're idiots. He's like, we got to put you in a splint like right now. And so I have my MRI on Tuesday. So this upcoming Tuesday will be my MRI, and they put it for like immediate, like immediately read it and stuff. So hopefully Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll know kind of what's going on and what the plan of attack is. But dude, it sucks. I still can't move it. It's still super, like, sleeping still sucks. Like, it's just super pain. Like, I can't believe, like, we're at day 6 and it's still just so swollen, so black and blue. Like, it just blows. And I'm more bummed at the fact that I can't fish. I wouldn't even be able to take the boat out if I wanted to. So we went out. Meg and I went out last night. Yeah. She had to tighten my fucking belt for me because I couldn't one-hand it. I was like, this fucking blows.
You got a real one there, dude.
Oh, dude. She's like, and And she's like, "Oh, you want me to wipe your ass too?" Like, type deal. I was like, "No, I can do that."
like, we bought the bidet. It's okay.
Yeah, and but we go to we went out last night and listened to some music, some live music. So I was a little slow this morning, but
nothing wrong with that.
Oh, so it's obviously it's my brother owns the bar, so I know that he wasn't working there. He wasn't there last night, but the bartenders are all like,
"You poor thing, let me pour you a double."
Dude, she's it's packed. It's like it was pretty busy in there, and like Meg and I are at one end of the bar, and she's at the other one, and her name's Mai. She's awesome. We love her. And like over the whole crowd, I hear her say, "Take my strong hand, Charles." Like, I was like, "You fucking bitch."
That's fucking awesome.
Oh yeah. So I was like, oh. So that's where we're at now. Hopefully it's just like a crazy bad contusion, but I'm not. Chances are it's not. So I just hope it's something that doesn't have to be surgically fixed. And it can just throw me in a splinter cast, dude, and like
let it heal.
Yeah, let it heal. But yeah, man, that's where we're at with that.
We're gonna have to modify.
What's that?
We're gonna have to modify that cast though, so that you can put like the very end of the handle of a reel, so that way you can just plug it and like a suicide knob,
right? Exactly. Just like do this, like that, I could do, but like I can't bring my index finger and my thumb together.
That's
so like
shitty.
Yeah, dude. So it's literally to the point where there's like really no way I can do it.
That's crazy, man. That is fucking awful.
Oh, it's terrible. Terrible.
I thought, because that's the thing. I thought you were working on your boat at the time, so I'm like, talk about adding insult to injury. Because I was like, oh, he must be working on that battery cable. I'm like, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Oh, okay, Jesus, that's crazy, man.
Even worse, dude. I wasn't like the boat came and like kicked my ass without even like I don't know.
Yeah, without doing it.
Yeah.
Eli chimes in. He shares, I don't know what the fuck is happening in Cincinnati, but Eli goes, when I was in 6th grade, I broke my wrist. They made a club of my hand to play football with. They left my thumb out of the club, and then in a drill in practice 2 weeks later, I shattered my thumb. What are you doing, Eli? What is happening over there? Holy shit.
Yeah.
He says it was the best. Oh my God. That is brutal, dude. That is fucking really fucking brutal. Well, yeah, I mean, in your downtime, there are some things that we can kind of put together. And I think that maybe even just going over some of these JB certified slaunch picks that have been coming in are freaking crazy. They are freaking crazy. I will jump in and say, so my week was productive. It really was. I had made the decision. It was last weekend when we recorded the show. I was like, I think this is the week. I got to get some electronics on this boat. So what I did was this, and it's a very temporary fix, but it's working so well. So what I thought was going to be the most difficult part was taking the Lowrance Hook 7, right, from my kayak, and putting it on the console of the Lund. And this is so that I can use primarily, obviously, mapping, because I want to look at some contour lines and stuff and know there's a freaking hump here that comes up really shallow, shit like that. And then and then the other thing is also side scan. That's a big one. Because the thing is I got a replacement transducer for it, the triple shot. So I have that same transducer on my kayak and on my boat. So in theory, I could take this and go back and forth easily, and it's separate power supply too. So I'm good to go. I was like, that could work out. So what I did was I was like, I think the most difficult thing is going to be running the transducer wire. Dude, it was a piece of cake. I got to figure out how to clean it up a little bit and how to actually run that cable. But I basically, right where my throttle control is on my boat, right behind it, there's this little channel that's created where all the wiring comes in and connects right up to the throttle control, which is great. I put the transducer on the back, and the placement is just I nailed it. Did you see the picture I sent you of the screen as I was scanning the river? I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Like I went and I reset the colors so it looks good and I can see things real clear on there. And it's amazing. It's only a 7-inch screen, but it's so much closer on the console of the boat than it was in my kayak. It's so much easier to see. So I ran that, I ran all the wires up and through the port that goes to the top of that console. And I wasn't sure where on the console, because the nice thing is with the Lund stuff, it's not rounded anymore. Where there's like one spot where you can put your electronics. Now it's flat. So I can move this in different ways. And I have it kind of like off to an angle on the right-hand side, like kind of facing me. And I like it because I'm kind of a slob. And as I'm using baits, if it's something that I go back to or something, or I might, cut off and I just want to let dry, I leave them right there on the dash.
Sure.
And I'm like, now I still have that. So I'm like, all right, that's cool. I'll go ahead and do that. That works for me. I got this thing installed, and for power, for the time being, I tapped into that 12-volt plug, the cigarette lighter plug. That's right there. So I'm running that. All those wires just go up and underneath. I got to clean that up a little bit, but other than that, it's working perfectly. It's so good. Perfect. And it's so nice to just have it and have it be connected to my trolling motor battery and know that I can run it like full brightness and it's not going to be a huge impact on that battery. It's really kind of nice. And because it's at the console, I shut it off when I'm up on the casting deck. It works out perfectly. So I'm very happy with that. I got out on Friday, and I think I cleaned everything up on Thursday afternoon. Got out on Friday. I went fishing with now Adam, right? Adam Ducharme.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So I thought so. Adam and his wife Leah are trivia players. They played a handful of times. In fact, there's a couple of events. One of them was a corporate event for Leah's job, and then another one was actually a birthday party for Adam, where I did trivia at both of those. And they're awesome. They're great. Yeah. And Adam was like, "Hey, we got to get out and fish." I saw him on Wednesday night. Actually, they were at Nathan Bill's, and we're talking. I was like, "Well, let's do it." I was like, I'm going to a spot for the slot limit tournament on Saturday, and I really want to try to pre-fish Thursday or Friday. And I was like, I'm leaning more towards Friday. And he's like, all right, cool, let's go ahead and do it. So we met up there, and we launched the boat. We get out, and it was a great day, dude. It was a really, really great day. Went out, and I was, again, like, I like to use the Sean the Fisherman school of thought when it comes to pre-fishing. So, throw a presentation, develop a pattern, and then once I develop that pattern, I get a second bite or I get a second fish on, that lure comes off. And then I'm trying something else to see what will work. So I left that day with 4 different baits that I felt really confident with. And we had clear skies. We had like no wind that day, like nothing. It was dead calm. But we had clear skies with very, very like mostly sunny skies, I would say. Yeah. And it was pretty solid. So I left that day. I was like, so they were biting real good on a finesse swim bait in 2 sizes. They were biting real good on a jig with that. It was actually the same jig that I did well with a couple weeks ago with Paul there. They did real well with a Ned rig, and then just for shits and giggles, I tied on that glide from Dark Horse Tackle that came, the first one. I want to say it's Dock Master. No, maybe it's not Dock Masters. I forget who puts that one out.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
It's a beautiful yellow perch pattern. It's like a 3.5-inch glide. So I tied the same one.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. Got my first catch on it. Like, and the action is awesome. Out of this world. And if that's a 3.5-inch bait, this was a 6-inch fish. And he just crushed it. I was like, you are an ambitious little son of a bitch, aren't you? Yeah. Everything else that I caught, though, that day was in the slot size. Because every catch that I had, I was measuring. And I'm like, this is why I was choosing this body of water. Was because I'm like, I feel like even like there are dinks and you'll catch those, but I'm like, I feel like I've just caught a good number of like sizable fish, and I won't run into that problem I had last month where I'm like, I'm 32 fish in and they're all like 10 inches, So I went and I was like, I was feeling pretty good about that. I had some options, and I went up further in the river than I ever had before. And it's interesting because there is like the water gets much clearer the further up that you go, less stain, and you get a lot more rocks, like big boulders and stuff, and it just seems like Smalley heaven. And in that day, so where I was out with Adam, and he was throwing primarily Senkos, tubes, and I was paying attention to what he was throwing because I was like, you're not going to be aware of it, but I go, whatever you get bid on, I'm going to be taking notes. You know, because that's going to help me for pre-fishing. He's like, really? I was like, hell yeah. So he caught him on a Senko. He was throwing tubes. He was throwing a jig a little bit. And then we found this one patch of weeds and he was punching. He just got this new punching setup, and it's actually a pretty nice rig. And he's punching this one patch of like thick weeds. And as he is, like the water was so clear where we were, I saw this big largemouth go right out from under there. I was like, that's the fucking thing. I go, you got to be careful because you'll spook them and they'll take off. And I was like, it's sometimes it's worth punching when it's like you have to punch, because I was just chucking my jig in there. It was no problem. But yeah, he was fucking killing it. The best part of the day was, and I think this was on one of the Senkos, Adam caught a pin-winning chain pickerel.
That's awesome.
Now,
good for him.
It was I want to say it was a 25 1/4. And actually the cover artwork is of Adam and that chain pickerel, absolute giant. And he's throwing, this was on a Senko, and he was like, oh yeah, I got a decent fish here. And I was like, oh no shit, that's awesome. His rod is just fucking bent over. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's crazy. And I see that, and I was like, I wasn't hearing any drag. My heart went into my throat because I was like, that is a big fish. Kind of went broadside. You could see that we're dealing with something of significance. We got it in the net. We got it in the net. I'm like, fucking A, man. And he was stoked. So Adam has lived all over the place, but like he's not familiar with fishing around here much at all. And he's like, he didn't know about the catch and release pin program from the state.
Gotcha.
And when I mentioned, I was like, that's a pinfish, dude. He was like, what do you mean a pinfish? And I was like, Massachusetts does a very small number of things the right way. And one of the things that they do very well is the catch and release program for records for fish. And I was like, all you've got to do is just measure it on some type of a hog trough or a board or anything like that. And obviously it helps if the numbers are good and clear, all that shit that generally works. But what they're looking for is they set standards for sizes of different fish. And if you can get a measurement of that fish and then enter it, you'll be awarded a bronze pin for your submission. And, I said to him, I was like, this year I caught a 27-inch chain pickerel. That's my first chain pickerel pinfish. And I was like, it went way over. I think it's 25 is the mark. And he got 25 1/4. I was like, all you got to do is submit the information online. They'll send you the pin. It's like every 6 weeks they do this stuff. I was like, so they'll get it to you. And I was like, if you happen to have I think the biggest fish of that category for that year, you get inducted into like that next level where you get a gold pin, I think.
I was just going to say, I think it's a gold pin. Yeah. Yep. And
I was like, but I might have that fish because mine was 27. I was like, I don't know. But I'm like, I would definitely go and enter it. So he's like, yeah, that sounds fucking awesome. So that's what he did. I sent him the link and I was like, just fill this out, submit the info. And I'm like, they are super fucking cool. Like, even if you catch one, you forget to submit it right away. I'm like, just send it in. It's worth it. It's like I said, Massachusetts does a very short list of things the right way. And that's one of them for sure.
Yep.
Very, very cool. So we had a good time, got off the water. This is when I mentioned fishy adjacent shit. What I'm about to tell you is 100% fishy adjacent. I was on my way home and I was feeling so good. And I was famished, absolutely famished. I got off the water and I was craving a good sandwich. So I went back to my old hometown of Belchertown, Massachusetts on my way home. And I'm like, okay, cool. Pop in old Checkers and see if the deli's open. And wouldn't you know it was. Got myself a small burner. It's a turkey sandwich with all the hot fixings. It's so good. It's so good. And Adam kind of introduced me to what I think is going to be a new tradition. And that's cracking open a 7 a.m. barley wine or imperial stout and just sipping throughout the day. Because those beers in the fall can be left at air temperature and they're perfect. And it's nice. You can drink them slow. They're not warming up on you or anything. Some of them are pretty significant, like 11 and 13%.
Sure.
So go easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was like, this is kind of all right. I can see doing this. So that brings us to Saturday. Now, Saturday is a big deal. Now, What I didn't know going into Saturday, because I was looking at my weather report, looking at the forecast, and what it did show is that there was the potential for some rain nearby, and there was a slight dip in temperature, but it did not appear as if there was like a massive front in the forecast. I was wrong. There was a pop-up thunderstorm in that area of the state that I get to, because the guy I was fishing with is Jeff Marcinek, and he and I go back a long time, and he lives much closer to that area than I do. And we got on the water that morning. He's like, "Oh, did you guys get that thunderstorm?" I was like, "Dude, we didn't get rain." And he's like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, nothing." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Dude, there was a crazy thunderstorm that came through last night. Like, it was rough." And I'm like, "Fuck." Immediately, I was like, I wonder how this is going to affect things. Like, because I know it's going to make a change, but what's it going to do? I was like, I got a list of these baits. We're going to go ahead and do it. So the plan of attack was this. We went, because Jeff only had a limited amount of time, we wanted to go as far up as we could and then work our way back down on that bank that I had fished the day before. And I was finding fish that were very much shallow, but I was also finding fish off of ledges that were deep. Like, I caught my smallmouth on Friday on a jig that I let sink all the way down, give it a few pops, and it just ran with it. So like, these fish were moving around. You're going to hear about why that happens this time of year in a bit. So they were definitely found in a bunch of different places. Also, this is a river system, so there's a little bit of element of chaos that comes into play there. So we go up, and it was just a fucking clown show of errors, like baits going into trees, massive backlashes, like just ridiculousness. And it was just brutal. And like, I started out with a moving presentation. I started out with like a 3.5 inch swim bait, right? On like a 1/4 ounce, those Picasso heads that I like, the tungsten ones with the titanium weed guards. This lets me throw them in anything. And this is really shallow and really clear, and I'm not getting bit anywhere. So I was like, maybe I just need to downsize a little bit because of that thunderstorm. So I go to a 1/2 inch smaller, right, on a slightly lighter head, and because I happen to have this rigged on another rod, so I grab that and I start making some casts. Second cast, bang, 20-inch chain pickerel.
Hell yeah.
Fucking slot limit. God damn it. So I got this slimy son of a bitch in the boat. I'm like, here we go. We got our first fish on, skunks out, feeling good. Let's release them. Now I can hit the fish whistle, right? And I feel like this was needed to kind of like keep me in the zone. I genuinely do. So I get over to this one spot. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm like, I'm going to hold this and see if this is a pattern. It wasn't. I found an area where we actually came around this corner toward like what would be like where the river starts to open up and things start to get deeper, and that's where you get your stained water a little bit more. We start to come in and we see some action on the opposite bank. So I was like, let's hug tight to that real quick and just see what we come up with. Those were trout because the water was clear enough up there where we could see them. They were trout. They were following my bait, but they weren't committing to it or anything like that. I was like, all right, cool. Started to get a little bit nervous. I was like, well, I mean, is it the size profile? Because what can I do? So I actually went a little bit smaller, and I threw a micro jig on a 2-inch swim bait, right? Okay. And I worked that for a little while, and I was getting taps, but I think I was getting taps from like bluegill and panfish that were just territorial. I don't know where they're at. We didn't see any bluegill beds necessarily, but a lot of this stuff was covered probably by overhanging limbs from the trees, and because they're very low to the ground over there. So I was skipping under this stuff, and I was getting these little taps, and I'm like, these are probably not the fish that I want. Kind of scrambled back and forth. I decided to go and switch gears entirely. And I was like, I'm going to go and throw the other presentation that I thought was working, and that was my jig, right? Yep. So I'm throwing, this is a 1/2 ounce flipping jig, and we're starting to come into an area where there's a lot more wood. So this is where I was catching them on a jig previously, and I felt much better about this. So what I was throwing was a 1/2 ounce 1099 jig from Blue Rock, right? With a baby beef, and this was PB&J was the color I was using. This was a baby beef crawl from Magnum Baits, and this was in one of my favorite colors that they have. It's called medium rare, and it's like a laminate. It's a two-part. There's one side of it is black. One side of it's like this wine red with like a red flake or red and copper flake that's in there. It's very subtle and very small flake. So I pop this in there, and I'm working it. I'm working. I finally connect with a fish. Right, finally. I'm like, here we go. Boom. There we go. Maybe this is it. We'll see what happens. And we had to work for him. And this is exactly the recipe that we found that worked. If we found a shade line that had wood, right, that was near like deeper water. So these were like the laydowns that were like the longer ones, where like the shade line is where we would find them. And if that shade came out a little bit better and there was deeper water, it was like almost even a better deal. So I did pretty good. I got a couple of bites that I missed. In fact, I almost took a jig to the face, setting the hook on one of these suckers. Like it was rough. Now, Jeff does not have the level of confidence of fishing a jig like I do. And he was telling me, and I think it might even be in the video in some spots. He's like, dude, you put that thing in places where, sounds terrible. I'm going to do it in the voice.
You put that thing in places I wouldn't even think about putting it in.
And he's right. I'm throwing this into all the brush piles. I lost 3 jigs that day. Just because every single cast, it was just pitch to this, pitch to this, pitch to this. And as a wise man once told me,
if you ain't losing jigs, you ain't throwing jigs.
I managed to retrieve them out of some miraculous places that I wasn't even aware were possible. So I was like, okay, so like I said, PB&J, that was the initial color. I lost my last PB&J jig. I was like, all right, what are we going to do? So I switched it up. I was like, I'm going to throw black and purple. Maybe the jelly was the move. Maybe, And I'm like, we'll do that and we'll throw it with the same trailer, right? And I'm throwing that around. I got my second fish. I'm feeling pretty good now. Now, Jeff is like, okay, dude. He's like, 2 fish is a pattern, right? And I'm like,
Yes, young Padawan, you're learning.
And he says, he's like, 2 is a pattern. He goes, so what should I do here? And I was like, I go, honestly, I go, do you have like, I was like, you could probably get away with throwing green pumpkin if you had to. I'm like, do you have black and blue? He's like, I got black and blue. I was like, throw black and blue crawl, black and blue jig. He probably had about 2 hours left at this point. Like we had fished a lot. Like I cut to like, I started throwing the jig and then I caught that. You guys have no idea. We fished for like 3-4 hours without any bites. Like we just worked and there was nothing. It was ridiculous. Each of us kind of making some changes along the way. But once we got over that wood and I was like, okay, now I have to throw something that's for the conditions that are in front of me, that's what the move was. And we caught, so we each at this point, we had caught 2 between the 2 of us before he had to bounce. So, mission accomplished. There was no skunk in the boat for either one of us, which is awesome. So I'll take that. I will say that we got over to, I dropped him off and I went back out and there's this one little stretch that I wanted to fish. And it was a little bit bananas. So I go out to this one spot and I actually had gone to an area that we had covered so I could organically like just work my way into it. And there was some stuff that I felt like when we left this spot was a little unfinished, and it's a good thing I went back because fish number 3 was right there. Now, all of these fish were, I would say, under, I think my biggest was like 1475. So none of these were like giants necessarily, but they were all healthy, chunky fish. Like they were thick. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I was pretty stoked on that. I was like, that's pretty good. So fish number 3 is there, and I'm feeling pretty good. I was like, okay, I've got just about 2 hours left, a little bit more. If I can get 5, I'll be delighted. I did manage 4. I got one more. I had 2 other bites that I had either flubbed the hook set on. One of them, I think I pulled it just had the tails of my craw. And I think when I set the hook, because, the plastic just kind of went down and around the bend, can't slip back a little bit. I was like, I think it just didn't have the hook. So there was that. But yeah, in total, I put 4 fish in. I'm not mad at that. That's better than my previous month as far as total inches go, by quite a bit. And we'll go over the stuff in just a minute, the preliminary results for the tournament. Of course, I'm going to be doing judging later today, after this is all recorded and everything. So we'll have a full like awards thing on the next episode when that's all said and done. So, I set my alarm about like the 90-minute mark out on my phone for 4 p.m. And I'm like, that's lines back in. We'll go ahead. We'll take it. We'll see what we got. I go ahead and I'm fishing my ass off. And as I'm in about the last hour, 45 minutes, there's a skeeter that's zipping up and down from the launch into where the river starts to get skinny and actually becomes the river, and going back and forth. I'm talking full on plane, probably doing about 50 miles an hour, realistically. And this is an older skeeter, and they would get halfway, and there's wreck boats, pleasure boats all over the place. People that have no business at all, boats of all sizes too. And this guy is turning aggressively to avoid like an asshole on the highway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just I got to be there before these 3 cars are, so whatever. And I'm like, that is fucked up. That is crazy. This guy, and I'm like, he's driving by, and in the background, I'm yelling as they go by. I'm waving at him. They're waving at me, and I'm like,
Micro penis.
And I'm like, all right, whatever, assholes. I got some video of them. I might include in the video for yesterday. And I was like, this is kind of bananas. It really just sort of is. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I said to I get over to the launch afterwards, and they were putting their boat on the trailer, having some difficulty. My theory is this. I think the dude that was driving the boat was buying that boat. And I think he wanted to test it out before, and at least that's the vibe I got. It also seemed like there was quite a bit of inexperience going on in how trailering it. There was a lot of hey, oh my God, slow down, back up, whatever. It was a mess. And I think that's what was happening. Why on earth would you say hey, yeah, let's go test this sucker out on a holiday weekend? Who thinks like that? And I'm like, all right, whatever. I mean, I guess you got to sell the boat. You got to sell the boat. Fuck everybody else's plans, right?
Right.
So they go and they're doing this. Now, there's this small smoker craft. Okay. And it's circling around. And when I say small, my boat, dwarfed this thing. It was super tiny, a single, a side console, small smoker craft with 2 guys, and it was rigged for fishing, but these guys were not looking to fish. So gotcha. I'm on the side of the ramp. This skeeter is now up at the top. This is over at Red Bridge. And
gotcha.
They're at the top of that ramp, which is a hill. And I grab my trailer, I loop around because they have this setup where it looks like the number 9 if you look at it from the sky. And I come around the loop, and I'm waiting for them to pull up so that I can straighten my trailer and then drop it into the water. They finally get the hint because I'm sitting there. They move along their way. I pull up, I back in, and I'm loading up the boat. Now I don't know if these dudes were leaving that were in this smoker craft, but they looped around, and it kind of seemed like they were going to sort of go broadside to the ramp for whatever reason. And I'm like, I have to put my trailer there, you fucking dumbasses. I didn't leave my boat there just for fun, So I'm like, all right, whatever. And as I'm backing it down, and I go and I get in the boat to motor off and then load the boat onto the trailer, I notice the attire that these gentlemen were wearing. The guy sitting up on what would have been the casting deck of this smoker craft was sitting next to the trolling motor, and they were not running the outboard. They were cruising around with the trolling motor. Yeah. And I don't know why he was sitting there. I don't know if it was a manual and he was just on his own. I have no idea. The guy sitting at the console was sitting at the wheel, outboard fully out of the water. Makes no sense. I'm like, okay, whatever. They're sitting there waiting for me. Guy at the trolling motor, handlebar mustache,
captain's hat.
The guy at the side console, seafoam green polo, like a golf shirt.
Yeah.
with an ascot on.
Okay.
These fine gentlemen were just out for a lovely day of
Boating.
on the water. I was like, it's like a cartoon here. What the fuck is even happening? And now keep in mind, I was like, am I dehydrated? No, I've been drinking these elements. I'm good. We're good. I'm fucking, my brain is functional. And I'm like, I had like 2 toots of the fish whistle. That's it. I'm like, God, I'm not imagining this. This is real life. They go and they load up their truck and they're loading up. It was just ridiculous. You got to be kidding me. Anyway, I got home that night and I was absolutely cooked. But I'll tell you what, by the time like 11 a.m. rolled around, both Jeff and I were like, fuck it, let's go for a swim. Like we were like not even a bite, nothing to really like get anywhere with it. And then finally we started to turn that page a little bit around noon, and things finally, you know, I know people say like, oh, maybe the bite finally turned on.
Sure.
I guess maybe, I don't know, but we started to fucking figure it out, and it felt pretty good to actually have some kind of a pattern. So awesome job.
There you go.
Let's talk about those tentative results, because we didn't have as good a turnout as last month. With that said, I want to say I'm probably not going to book one of these on a holiday weekend again, because I don't know. The question in doing that was I wanted to see if we would get more anglers that would sign on for it, and it does not seem like that was the case. So we had a little experiment. Now we want to abandon that. So it is what it is. We had 14 anglers in total, the vast majority of which signed up within the last 48 hours of the registration period. So especially with it being a holiday weekend, I'm waiting on funds to be delivered so I can do payouts. So regardless of when I do the judging, I've got to wait for that to happen. In total, we had 66 fish get entered overall. So it was a grind for everybody. We had, I think, 19 anglers last month, and we only had 11 people turn in fish. I don't know that the other 3, if they did fish, but we only had 11 anglers turn in fish. So let's go through the entire top 11 right now. Now, we had one individual that both you and I are close with that was talking a little bit of shit in the group chat. Little bit of shit. The one and only Metal Jones, Zechariah Fullard, came in 11th place with 24 3/4 inches. So it's not like he caught a single fish. He caught a couple. Both of them under 13 inches. And you know, I mean, he's doing all right with it, and he's happy with it. So that's good. He was also, this is crazy too, because I believe he was using this as an opportunity to scout for an upcoming event. Which I think is that's genius. I think that's super smart way to do it too. Because it's a tournament, it puts you in the mindset where you're like, I got to treat it this way. You know, it's a really good idea. So Zach, good job. Let's give him a round of applause. I believe this is a new name. I don't think we've had this person in one of our tournaments, but at 25 inches on the no, Joey Gamble puts in a 13 and a 12. In ninth place right now, we've got Blake Dodson. He's got 25.5 inches with a 13.5 and a 12 inch. My buddy Jeff, 27 3/4 inches between 2 fish, a 15 1/4 and a 12.5. Jeff put the biggest fish in for the boat. Between the two of us with that 15 1/4. So nice job, Jeff. You did really good. Ronald Moy, 2 fish again. He's got 28.5 inches. He's got a 15 1/4 and a 13 1/4. A little bit of a jump here. We go to 6th place. Bobby Roast Beef, your boy. BRB put on a 4-fish clinic, we'll call it, with 54 1/4 inches. I had my biggest was 14 3/4. I had a 13 3/4, a 13 inch, and a 12 3/4. We got Mark Boudreau put in 81 inches. Mark has I think it's 5 fish. Nope, 6 fish. He's got a 16, a 14, another 14, a 13, a 12, and a 12. That's interesting. Every single one of them dead to nuts. And then there's a little bit of a larger jump up here to 111 inches. Now, this is where things are going to be a little bit interesting. Stephen Galloway. He put in a 15.5 inch, actually 2 15.5 inch fish, a 15 1/4, a 13 3/4, another 13 3/4, a 13, a 12.5, and a 12 1/4, for a total in 4th place of 111.5 inches. Not a bad day at all. Todd Sefton in third place currently has 116 3/4 inch fish, a 15 and a half, a 15 and a quarter, another 15 and a quarter, a 14 and a half, a 14 inch, a 13 and 3/4 inch, and a 12 inch. And I think he had sent me a text and had said like, oh, I think I might have entered one of these fish twice. So this is why I say tentatively, because these are not the final results. This is just as we go into it, the day people had. A name that we haven't heard in the Jigs and Bigs-averse in a long time. The one and only Jerry Multi-Species House. Now, I got to tell you, it is, I get excited when Jerry's in an event because Jerry can fucking fish. And he's been doing this a long time. And like he's a problem in the multi-species world, but he is a damn good bass fisherman too. You know what I mean? And he is fucking now I didn't even know until I was on the water and I was like, I saw him on the roster and I was like, Jeff, we're fucked. Like we're just fucked. So Jerry had a day and was in first place for the majority of the day. Now he put in total by the 5 o'clock cutoff for entries, 156 1/4 inches. Jerry.
Yes.
Now, for this day, which it was a grind, keep in mind, people have won this routinely with 300 plus inches. Multiple times people have done it with 500 inches. So it's like, these are low numbers. It was a grind for a lot of people. Jerry put in a 16 and a half, a 15 and a quarter, a 14 3/4, two 14 and a half inch, a 14 and a quarter, a 13 and a half, a 13 and a quarter, a 12 and a half, and a 12 and a quarter for 156 1/4 overall. Now, the sleeper, right, of this whole thing, the sleeper was Binya Outdoors. Binya, now this is the first time in 2 months that Binya and I haven't fished the same body of water for one of these tournaments. And there might be something to that. Now, oddly, he had very much polar opposite conditions than where we had. He had like thunderstorms. It was raining all day there. And as he got off the water, he had thunderstorms coming in. And he was also fishing in a spot where he didn't have shit for cell service. So most of the day, I thought I was like nipping at his heels until we got to the end, because he called and he was like, he's like, it's getting bad here. I'm gonna wrap things soon, and I got a bunch of fish to put in. I was like, oh, I'm right behind you, and he's like, no, you're not. He's like, I got more to go. So he put in and he got lunker for this. He's the only one that put in a 17-inch fish. So Binya, good job. He did follow up, and this is why I like Binya. Binya takes really good photos. A lot of like the more seasoned,
he's been doing it for a minute.
Yeah, it helps, and he takes great pics. And he sent, because of the limited cell service, he took advantage of the fact you can submit a low res photo, and that makes things go quite a bit easier. But when he was off the water, he was like, just to make sure, because I have a feeling you're going to ask about one of these. He goes, here's the high res of that 17. And I was like, boom. I was like, dude, you're the man. You even thought about this in advance. That's great. So he got the lunker with that 17. He put in a 15 and a half, 14 1/4 inch fish, two 14s, a 13 and a quarter, a 13, a 12.75, a 12 and a half, and two 12 1/4 bass for a total amount of tentative inches of 179 1/4.
Hell yeah.
If that isn't the definition of a day that is just a grinder, because in a nationwide tournament like this, conditions are going to fluctuate big time. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you're going to have I would have to wonder if we had any of our California listeners that were doing this now, how the difference in conditions could have played out, if we would have seen a 300 plus bag, overall. Just wild. So very, very awesome. Very, very cool tournament. Everybody seemed to have a real good time. Everything seemed to go on without a hitch, which is great. Congratulations to our winners. I will be confirming those winners. We'll do a full breakdown of the winners and all that jazz next week. And but yeah, so September's will be announced shortly. I'm actually going to be doing the scheduling for that soon, like this week. And trust me, you guys are going to want to get in on this. And this is a great tournament for everybody. You know what I mean? No matter where you are in the country. And I hear this all the time from people. They're like,
"Oh, I only catch fish that are over 17 inches. I'm sorry."
That's bullshit. Like that. Let's be honest. I go. What I tell people is, if that's the case, like fucking submit them. Prove me wrong. Submit these fish and let me DQ it. And you know what? Fuck it. So I am trying to tinker with some of these other tournaments and see about interesting ways to kind of put some stuff together. 26 is going to see some changes to the tournament schedule a little bit. It'll be kind of interesting. We'll just kind of play it by ear. We'll see what happens, but
sure.
It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a real good time.
Hell yeah.
How about headlines, Joe? You want to bang these suckers? You want to
do it?
Yeah,
let's do it.
Let's go ahead and do it. There we go.
Well, Bobby.
Yep.
This is not very neighborly because a Florida man was arrested for assaulting kids fishing a neighborhood pond.
Really?
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
The two kids, they live in the same Florida community, which has several lakes that are open to fishing and managed by, of course, an HOA. A 70-year-old Florida man was arrested Wednesday for allegedly, I got to get a little closer because I don't have my glasses. I can't see it too good. Was arrested Wednesday for allegedly assaulting two kids who were fishing a neighborhood pond. Daniel Lucas of Naples was booked Wednesday in the Collier County Jail and charged with 1 count of battery, a misdemeanor, and he has since been released on bond. Authorities allege that Lucas yelled at the two kids, aged 12 and 14, for fishing a community pond behind his house. Lucas chased them down to the street to a neighboring driveway where he allegedly pushed the 12-year-old, Aiden Minkoff, and grabbed him by the back of his neck. Aiden's father, Max Minkoff, says he saw a video of the alleged assault that the 14-year-old Alexis Despato recorded on his cell phone. As a parent, watching a video of your son getting assaulted for fishing is pretty heartbreaking. He's a big kid and everything, but he's a little child. I mean, he's 12 years old. That's just, you don't do that. According to an arrest report filed by the sheriff's office, the arresting officer responded to the battery call inside the Rivertone Preserve neighborhood around 6:45 p.m. on August 20th. The report notes that all three parties, including the kids, are residents of the same Naples community, which is built around a series of small lakes. Aiden told the officer that he and Disabato were fishing the pond located behind Lucas' house on Saginaw Bay Drive when Lucas yelled at them to get off his property. Aiden said they were grabbing their poles to leave when Lucas approached them. Minkoff and the other boy began to walk away, heading northbound along the lake and exited into the street. So the boys walked towards the left. Disabato walked towards the left. Minkoff walked towards the right. To the other driveway when Lucas grabbed him by the back of his neck with both hands and started pushing him. At this point, according to the report, Disabato pulled out her cell phone to film. While she was filming, Lucas' wife approached and told her to stop. She then grabbed Disabato's phone and threw it on the ground. So the wife was involved too, apparently.
It's bold.
So it just kind of got out of control. No files were charged against the wife. It was just the man himself. But again, hold on. The HOA's rules and regulations dictate that all neighborhood residents, along with their guests, are permitted to engage in catch and release fishing in the lakes. Owners who do not have lakefront lots, however, can only access the lakes through an easement of some kind. So it's really unclear, kind of like if the kid was trespassing or not, but whether he was trespassing or he wasn't, it just wasn't handled the right way.
Yep.
And so we go to jail.
That's what happens, man. Like, and we've had this conversation before. Like, if you're a person that owns, and it's funny because this kind of came up earlier in a conversation. And someone who had not entered the tournament this week had gotten in touch with us and had asked about the rule for what is fishable waters for this tournament.
Yeah.
And I said, what it gets down to, I go, is there public access? Sure. I mean, there needs to be public access. And just because people fish there, that does not mean it's public access. So like if it's a retention pond and there's all these small ponds or something like that people are, quote, open to fishing with,
right?
Who owns that property? And if it's not public property, right, something that you can access and be allowed to be there, then it means it's owned by someone. And if they have the ability to kick you off, it's, regardless if it's open to fishing, that's not a thing. You know what I mean? Like, people fish here all the time. Like, so, and the thing is like, if you are a property owner, first thing to do, if somebody's trespassing, call the cops. Call the fucking cops. And if you're an angler that's having somebody harass you, same thing.
Yep.
If you're in the right and you've gotten your watercraft on a boat through a public launch that you had access to, or you're fishing an area of a body of water that is public that you can access to fish, call the cops. Call the cops, because they'll straighten them right out and be like, yeah, there's nothing we're going to do about it. So,
100%.
Yeah, it is. That is fucked, dude. Talk about, and I do kind of think that it's a little hilarious that a 70-year-old man in Florida was just like,
"Hey, get off my lawn!"
Like, doesn't that seem fucking par for the course?
It's funny because I'm like, man, this asshole. Then I look, I'm like, man, am I gonna be that 7-year-old guy that's like, come here, you little fucker, I'll choke you out.
Yeah, I'm gonna choke you out. Do you know what I did to my thumb back in 2025? Yeah. God damn it,
dude! It's crazy though too, because like, you know how fucking kids are these days. They're little fucking assholes. Yeah. So it's like, you get like there's two sides to every story.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So who knows? These kids are like, fuck you, pal. And like me, I'd be like, I'll fucking kill you, you little asshole. So
some of the kids that or some just individual, like some fucking grown ass adults too, like they're just asking for it, or they're they're trolling you, trying to get you to act all crazy. And the thing is that's what it is. I think they got this guy. That's probably what it got down to.
And the girl's first reaction was like, "Ooh, I'm going to pull out my phone." And
of course,
dude, look at all the YouTube videos out there. If like they
100%.
Literally are just taping to get people's reaction to them. Like, I'm surprised more of these fucking, especially like the prank ones and stuff. Like,
those are some of the worst.
Like, I'll knock your fucking teeth down your throat, pal.
Yeah. It's just wild because you do see people react to this shit, and like it would just, if you just fucking stopped arguing and called the cops and said, all right, cool, I'm gonna go back in my house and just sit and have a coffee and see what happens. Whatever. It's just, I don't know, man. I don't fucking know. People are a mess.
Yep.
Just in general, but
100%.
Let's go ahead and take a short break. We're going to come back on. We got Just the Tip for you guys, and we're taking a dive into the fall transition, fall fishing. Get ready. Things are going to be cooling down. What's happening in the water? How are these fish reacting, and what can you do to sort of hedge your bets to get the best outcome on a day? We'll see you guys in a bit. Don't go too far. More Jigs and Bigs goodness coming up right after this.
And perhaps play a little game called Just the Tip. Just for a second, just to see how it feels. Or, ouch, ouch, you're on my hair.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's chilly mornings, man. I'm telling you, there's just something about it. You sleep really good at night, like a rock. You get up, and that water has that fog coming off of it, and it's like that you gotta wear a hoodie early on, but it's going to be so hot later in the day that you don't want to wear like sweats or anything. So like you gotta dress for the occasion, and that's what we're talking about here is the fall transition. And it's like a lot of people this year talk about fall, and like it's a date on the calendar. And yes, on the Gregorian calendar, there is a schedule for when autumn's going to begin, the solstice and everything, or the equinox. I don't know what it is. But you have a transition that's marked there. But that does not mean that it's fall in nature yet. You know what I mean? Or it can come earlier on, you know? And what you're really looking for is a little bit of a pattern where things start to get really cool at night for a specific amount of time. Now, around here, we have this little thing that people refer to as like second summer. In September, you get like 2 weeks of like 90-degree heat. You know, it just seems to be the case overall. And sometimes that can trip some folks up. But here's what we're talking about this week is fall fishing, the transition and beyond. I have some notes that I put together here, and we're going to go through. And Joe, like I said in the pre-production meeting, feel free to interrupt me if there's something you want to go over. So fall transition tips for freshwater anglers. As summer begins to fade into fall, lots of freshwater anglers are going to find that fishing can get a little bit more tricky. Fish are moving, bait fish are shifting around, water temperatures are changing quickly. This time of year is known as the fall transition. It can be one of the hardest times to figure out, but it's also one of the most rewarding as well. And here's a little bit of breakdown and some tips for you guys. So to understand the fall transition overall, what you're seeing is a water temperature drop. Now, it's unfortunate that this happened to be the first week where I had electronics on my boat, but I was able to see when I was on the water on Friday and Saturday that temps were in like the high 60s, like 67 to 69, which from some reports is quite a bit lower than I was anticipating, to be honest. You're going to get water temperatures that are going to drop, and fish are going to sense that. They're going to sense you're going to get cooler weather and shorter days. The sunlight is a major player in here. That's like the one consistent is the amount of hours of sunlight that's going to fluctuate. Fish are going to leave their deep summer spots. They're going to chase food in shallow areas. Bait fish are also going to migrate. Whether we're talking about shad, minnows, bluegill, whatever, they're going to start schooling up in creeks and in coves and shallow flats, and predators are going to be there to follow them and capitalize. And you're going to have unstable patterns this year, and people are going to, this is where a lot of folks will struggle. One day fish might be super shallow, and the next day they could be super deep. You want to expect to do more searching and adjusting than you would normally in summertime. Now, one of the terms that comes up a lot is the thermocline, and I want to kind of get a little bit of a breakdown here, understanding what the thermocline is, and we hear about the turnover. Okay, so the thermocline is a distinct layer of water that's in a lake or a pond where the temperature changes rapidly between the warm surface water and the cold, deep water. You essentially have three layers. You have the upper layer, which is your warm, well-oxygenated water. You have your thermocline, if there's a thermocline, that is like the middle zone. And that's where the temperatures take a big drop. And fish will often relate to that during the summer. And then the lower level, below the thermocline, that's the coldest water. And it generally is very, very low in oxygen by the time you get to late summer. So are there thermoclines in every body of water? The short answer is no, not in all waters. You'll find a thermocline typically in water that is, lakes, deeper lakes and reservoirs, especially those that are over that 15, 20 foot window. If you've got more depth than that, you'll probably find a thermocline in there. But your shallow ponds, your rivers, and your lakes that have like big winds won't often have a thermocline develop because the water just mixes too easily with all that wind. As far as the relationship with the thermocline in the fall transition, during the summer, predators like bass and walleye are often going to suspend around the thermocline because it offers cooler temps and oxygen, which is exactly what they want. We covered this when we were talking about summer fishing. But when fall arrives, the cooler air temperatures cause the surface water to chill and sink. The thermocline breaks down as the water layers mix, and that's what they call the fall turnover. And that's when you see on those lakes where that occurs, where you have a thermocline and a turnover, that's where the water gets weird looking. Like all of a sudden, it just looks weird. Oxygen and temperature become more uniform throughout the entire water column, and fish are no longer restricted to just certain depths. They can roam much more widely in search of bait fish, and this is what makes it so much more challenging is because you're dealing with such a larger piece of real estate on that body of water. Now, Fall transition, the thermocline disappears, fish all spread out. Expect more unpredictability until they regroup around schooling bait fish. In shallow waters, ponds and rivers without a thermocline, you can still experience cooling trends, though. The transition is a little bit less dramatic overall. Now, let's talk about baits. Like, we're talking about increasing real estate and being able to have fish in all different levels of the water column, all over the place. And essentially, the word we brought up over and over again is bait fish. Moving baits are going to be a great way to be able to find where these fish are, move things a little bit quicker. So we're talking about covering water. Crankbaits are going to be a good choice to go to. They're great for searching like creek channels and points and flats where bait fish are going to school. Use shad colors in clear water or chartreuse or fire tiger in stained water. Your spinner baits are great because oftentimes that's going to help to mimic a schooling group of fish. So they work really well actually in stained and windy conditions. The flash is going to imitate bait fish. It's going to draw more reaction strikes. Your bladed jigs and chatterbaits, great in murky water, or if you're fishing around grass, chatterbaits are a go-to now for me, especially when we have like low visibility and any like wind, that's a big one. Your top water baits are going to perform too, especially when they're actively feeding. Walking baits and poppers are awesome for early morning and the evening near bait fish schools. Buzz baits are great around grass edges and shallow cover. When it does get tough, you can't beat soft plastic. So you're throwing flukes. You want to fish them weightless around schools, Texas rigged or jigged worms. You can drag them through deeper structure or when the fish back off after they're feeding. And then jigs, either football jigs, casting jigs. Toss them on rocky points, ledges, transitions between shallow and deep water. And especially when they slow down, and they're not super duper active, that's a great way to pick them off. Ways that you guys can plan ahead and adjust. Plan on being mobile. Whether you're on the bank and you're going from spot to spot to spot, or you're in a boat and you're going to go and hit different points or different coves, be mobile. Don't lock into one spot. Fish can move daily with the bait as it goes on. So have it in your mind that, hey, things might have moved. We have to go and find them. If you are on the water and have electronics, use them. This is a great opportunity to use them. Right? I assume, Joe, you've got experience here. You agree?
Oh, yeah. 100%. Like, if you have the tools, use it.
Yeah, 100%. Use them. This is the time of year where you're gonna see some rewards, and that's like regardless of what you're using. Obviously, like forward facing is gonna help you find like track schools of bait and stuff from different areas if you can get a good shot of them. But you can side scan too, and you can find schools of bait that'll be around, and then mark a spot and then circle back over and cover it really well with the right presentation, and dial into that bait, and you could clean house. If you don't have electronics, watch the birds, whether it's seagulls, loons, any herons, anything like that. Those birds often feed on those bait fish and will give you a sort of a direction to go where there's feeding activity potentially. This one's for you guys. Layer your clothing or bring a change of clothes because fall weather is going to shift fast and you want to be ready for the cool mornings. But during the day, it can warm up and you don't want to be sweltering in a hoodie all day long. You want to be able to like swap things out. So prepare for it. There is a shorter feeding window. Fish feed heavily, but they don't feed heavily all day long. So there will be short bursts of action typically. And then one tip is to check creeks first. Creeks and coves will often load with bait and predator fish before main lake areas do. So you hear this all the time. People will say like, "Oh, go to the back creeks, go into the coves." In these areas, you are probably more likely to find fish. Now, let's talk about different species. Do they behave any differently? Fish behavior during the fall transition. So we'll start with bass. Largemouth, they typically move from deep summer haunts toward the creeks and shallow flats. They're chasing bait fish, and especially those big schools, and they're actively feeding. They can be both caught shallow and suspended at mid-depth. Your smallmouth often stay deeper than largemouth and push toward rocky points or bluff ends. They are super aggressive this time of year when they're feeding on those bait fish schools. Walleye Follow bait fish into shallow reefs, points, and river inlets. Most active, you can find them most active rather during your low light periods, so dawn and dusk are prime times. If you're fishing for northern pike or muskies, you want to hunt aggressively they hunt aggressively in cooler and cooling shallows. Big baits like jerk baits and spinner baits always trigger strikes. And then if you're fishing for your panfish, bluegill, perch, crappie, your crappie are going to school around standing timber or on brush around mid-depth. Bluegills will stay shallower longer, relating to weeds and other shallow cover. As far as the fall transition goes, in general, fall transition fishing is about finding bait fish. That's really the key. Where they go, predator fish are going to follow. You want to use moving baits to be able to cover water as fast as possible, and then switch to the finessier baits when things slow down. Expect daily changes, though, so be flexible and be prepared to adjust. And again, focus on those creeks, coves, your transition zones between shallow and deep water, and I think you'll probably have a better fall. And of course, get yourself a little pumpkin spice goodness. Did I miss anything, Joe? You want to add something here?
No, I don't think so. The one, I mean, you kind of already said it, but with this transition, the fish, I mean, we're in that summer slump right now. With that transition, the fish will start feeding more, and they're gonna start fattening up, getting ready for the winter, essentially. So as the fall transition goes on and then the fall comes in, you're gonna start to see a lot more bites. So just make sure you get out there.
100%. John Higgins chimes in here and he says not all fish are cold blooded, but bass are. Slight deviation in temps will be the thing. Morning bite might not be the best, but closer to noon may be better. Evening bite before it cools will be fire. It's funny, John. Like, I feel like that's kind of what we ran into yesterday, was like they were not necessarily eating first thing in the morning, but and that's one thing I do actually. Let me back up here. I do want to mention that like fall is, there's fluctuations. Like in a perfect world, when you start to see like that first week of temps, even less, even just a few days of temps that dip into like the high 40s or something like that. They dip lower than like 50 degrees, and those low temps are really starting to get into that cooler weather zone. You're going to see things happen, but like I mentioned, the sun is a big one. I've been spending a lot of time this year looking at the amount of sunlight every single day and seeing it fluctuate from X number of hours up to X number of hours. And as the summer solstice hit, watching that number slowly get shorter and shorter and shorter, it's kind of amazed me. And that's the constant. The sunlight and the available sunlight is going to affect not just, your air temps, that for sure, but rain comes into play, things like that. And when that water temp dips, that's when things happen, and that kind of chimes in with John Leaves here. He says warm water discharges will gather temperature-sensitive bait fish in cold water times all the way through winter. Good area to focus as well. That you're 100% right, John. I don't know locally. I can't think, Joe, if we have any warm water discharges. Most of the time where I'm making warm water discharges, it's on the bank somewhere.
Nice one.
Yeah, you like
that?
I
guess the only way we could really actually couldn't even that. No, not that I can really.
I can't think of any, but there are places that like, and I've seen content made around where there's like, there's this power plant that's got a warm water discharge, and you'll be able to fish there year round. And the pattern will be different. Like you're going to get bait fish that'll stack up in there, and that's something to look for sure. But like, I mean, it's crazy. I hear people talk all the time about like, is it fall turnover yet? And it was like, well, this is a river, or and shit like that. I'm like, so it doesn't work. It's not like that in every body of water. So be aware. But there's for sure a transition. Is it the same as like a large deep lake? Nope. It's going to be different. Let's go ahead and dive into this because we got ourselves some good stuff.
What's up, Big? Hey, Bobby. Hey, Joe. It's John Higgins. I got a freaking FTG. I was out catfishing last night, tournament stuff, and I was fishing all by myself at a local locking dam on the Muskingum River. I was all by myself. It was probably about 10:30 at night, and The parking lot's right above where I fish at, so I'm within eye shot of my truck, and a vehicle pulls in right around 10:30, 11 o'clock, and backs in, and nobody ever gets out, so I'm figuring it's, local dopehead shooting up or something. And they sat there for a while, and about 25 minutes later, this loud piece of shit car pulls in and parks right next to it with their fucking high beams on, shining in my face, shining on the water, illuminating everything in the fucking area. So basically spooking everything in the water around me. And they chose to be super fucking loud, and it was a fucking dope deal. And they were out there for a solid 25 minutes just shooting the shit and being obnoxious before they fucking left. My night was about over at that point, because once you start illuminating everything, the big cats get leery and they kind of drift away. So with that being said, you and your fucking methpetician buddies, I hope you fucking stub your toe and burn your fucking fingers and get caught by the fucking cops. Sorry about all the cussing. But that's my FTG. Thanks.
Oh, man. Yeah, on this show, don't worry, John, about cursing on this show.
Yep.
What a bunch of fucking a-holes, man. Like, I don't think there's a bigger, sense of entitlement group. I really don't.
Yeah.
No. That is ridiculous, dude. And it's like, it sucks that somebody can go and basically ruin your entire experience. Literally just existing. That's all they're doing, Unfucking believable. All right. Well, hey, I'm probably not the one that should say this, but don't do drugs, kids. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come right back. We got the live well. We got 4 questions to go through, and they're doozies. We'll see you guys. Don't go too far.
Hi there. Welcome to the Live Well, where we crack open a ramp beer and attempt to answer all of your burning questions.
All right, here we go. Live well time this week, guys. We got 4 questions to go through. We got a couple from Eli. We got John Hagen's actually called in a tip on this live well segment, and we hear from South Jersey Josh. So let's jump into this first question. This is from Eli.
Hey guys, Eli with a question for the live well. I was talking to Dave Berkey the other day just about confidence space and all that stuff like that. One of my favorite things that I love about Dark Horse is that I learn new techniques. One of the things, though, that sometimes is not necessarily the best is the fact that I end up getting 6, 7 different square bows that are all amazing, but then I have confidence in a lot of different types, and so I end up throwing just a bunch of different ones because everything in that box that comes catches fish. So my question is, how did you get to a point where you narrowed down to instead of throwing 4 different swim jigs or 5 different swim jigs that were completely different shapes what was your process of narrowing down to not only confidence based but also exact styles that you liked with different trailers, stuff like that? So what was your process?
It's an interesting one. So I think that's going to be different per angler, the way they're going to look at it. So with hard baits, I kind of look at well, it kind of depends on the bait, to be perfectly honest, because they're all going to behave differently. What I want from a jerk bait is going to be different than what it is that I'm looking for from a lipless crank or a square bill, What I'm looking for in most, like when I look at stuff, I guess like on a quality standpoint, I want it to do what it says it's supposed to do. So if it's supposed to dive between, 5 and 7 feet, I expect it to be diving at like 5 to 7 feet, or, to suspend. If it's advertised as a suspending or a slow sinking, I expect it to have that action. With hard baits, for me, a lot of it gets down to like the color and the patterns, and things that I typically throw. Now, again, I don't throw many hard baits, so let's shift gears. Let's go to like matching a trailer with a another presentation. Like I'll take bladed jigs, for example. I oftentimes will just pair things the way that I think that they look, but then I look at the performance. And what I mean by that is this. So like one of my favorite bladed jigs right now that I'm throwing is the micro koosh ball bladed jig from HH Customs, right? Great little finessey bladed jig. And for trailers, there is an Arsenal Ned bait that I really like. That's got it's actually like a straight tail worm, and I want that to work so well. Like it looks great. It's got this amazing action. It's kind of like a straight tail is typically what I like on a bladed jig. The freeloader from Crush City is one that I like to throw on those more conventional size bladed jigs, like the 1/2 ounce jobs. And those work great. But on this, I find that presentation doesn't always work great. So it's just playing around with stuff, or making adjustments. So that Arsenal, I will trim down so that it's a little bit closer. It's not such because it's a 4-inch Ned. It's a good size Ned. I trim about an inch off of it and it fits much better. Or I'll use a paddle tail, but a very specific paddle tail, because I'm not looking for a wide swing. I'm looking for something a little bit more of a shimmy and a body roll style. And I've kind of just through really what it gets down to, Eli, is experimentation. That's really what it gets down to. Get cute with some of your stuff, especially when you're pairing trailers, trailers to different presentations. I think that's what it is. I don't know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the question here. Joe, what do you think?
The way I understood it, for me, with cool. I have like confidence baits and whatnot, but like, I'm not one who's like, okay, so this hard bait, so this crankbait is like this is my favorite crankbait. It's the only crankbait I use. Like I have so many different styles, so many different colors I use because situations dictate, different requirements. So like for me, it's like I'm always using different trailers for things, and I'm always using different types of, soft. So yeah, so like in a generalized, sense, like, yes, I have a lot of confidence in a bladed jig, but I'm constantly changing up the color. I'm constantly changing up the trailers, in order for, obviously if I'm running it through grass, I'm going to have a different trailer from if I'm, running around timber, and if I'm just, running the water column. So yeah, like I have my confidence techniques, but when it comes, colors, trailers, the noise that these things make, I'm always switching up depending on the situation, the body of water, the time of year, all that stuff.
It's funny. Eli put something in here. He goes, so I end up taking way too much out. Now, I think that's a different thing, because I don't know that Joe and I are the right guys to ask about this. Because especially now that I'm in the boat, but even when I was in my kayak, I would pack as much stuff into my tackle boxes and organize it as much as possible. And I did not use it 95% of the time. And what I would end up with was what I called a day box, which was like a storage unit that I could keep in excess super easy right from below my seat. And I divided that into a couple of different things. Like I would use bait binders, for my soft plastics. I would keep like a large bag of like the other ones, but like the stuff that I knew I was always throwing and needing, a standard crawl, a standard creature, the paddle tails that I like, the stick worms and the drop shot baits, like anything like that, I would put in those bait binders. And in order to stay a little bit more organized, what I would do is I would look at a body of water where I was fishing, and I like to just look at like, where am I intending on fishing most of the time, and what baits do I have that have a pattern and that have history of that I have confidence in, that I have caught fish on. Because I have the theory of like, and he's like, oh, all those baits in those in the Dark Horse tackle box catch fish.
No shit.
That's what they're there for. You know what I mean? Like I like to say, like, marling baits, when he put treble hooks and a bill on a block of wood and caught fish on it. Like, it's not magic. It's more about what the angler does with these tools, I think, than anything else. And your experience as an angler plays a huge part of it, because I won't throw a bait that I have absolutely no confidence in, just on a whim. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to lean towards the things where I'm like, no, I can definitely catch them on here. But again, like, you know, you gotta, if the issue is like filtering things down, you know, go through that body of water and then create a box that's like a go-to box, you know, and then you've got something that you can go to, like on the boat. I just mentioned it earlier. That's the dash of my console. I'm putting baits up there constantly. And when I'm on the front, yeah, it's just, I'm cutting stuff off and I'm leaving it there primarily because I want them to dry before I put them away. But like, if they're, and sometimes they rotate, you know, I'll go to another body of water and I'm like, you know what, that micro jig would work really good. It's right here. So I'm a little bit of a slob with it, if I'm being completely honest. Like, I just put baits everywhere and then I clean the boat like every week. I go through and I kind of organize it again. So I hope that kind of answers your question a little bit. If I'm getting it necessarily. Let's go ahead and do our next question right here. And this is from John Higgins.
Hey, Jigs and Bigs, this is John Higgins again. I wanted to call in a little tip for the live well this week. I recently did a fishing trip with Mr. Eli Self on the Ohio River, and when we were leading up to the day to go, he had a lot of questions, you know, what type of rods and lures and all of those different types of, basically to match what we were going to do. And I basically came up with this tip. When you're fishing a new body of water you've never fished, be yourself. Fish how you fish. Most of these other fish are still predators, and if you're looking to get something outside of the black bass spectrum, do the same thing. Stripers, hybrid stripers will hit topwaters. You can never go wrong with a jig. And depending on, you know, what style of fishing you're doing, if you're using jigs, try smaller jigs, try bigger jigs. You know, it's not unheard of that people will fish below a dam and tangle with a very large flathead on a paddle tail. Crankbaits, they'll spark the interest of everything just like a bass would. Walleye, saweye, same thing. Crankbaits, twisters, even classic rooster tail will put fish in the boat for you. So don't be afraid to fish your style on any body of water. The only other suggestion I would have is bring 3 rods. 1 small, 1 medium, 1 large. That way you can mix it up and try different things. With that being said, tight lines and have a good one.
That is a great tip. That is a really, really, really great tip right there. And I think, I mean, keep that in mind too. That's coming from John Higgins, who is like a genuine problem with the multi-species scavenger hunt series. You know what I mean? Like, he knows what he's talking about. So like, yeah, it's, and I forget who it was. There was one time we had a guest on the show and they were like, fish the way you like to fish. Like, you're not going to catch fish if you're forcing yourself to do a technique that you don't genuinely want to do, you know?
Right.
It's like it's about it's the intention is to go out there and have fun. So go out there and have fun. You know what I mean? If you want to, and being prepared. I like the 3-rod thing too. It's like be prepared, so that you can go do what you got to do. That's it. That's a really, really great tip, man. Just fish the shit you want to fish. You will catch them, 100%. Todd Sefton goes, I caught 2 catfish yesterday, one on a bladed jig and one on a Ned. This year I've had a couple of fish. He goes, caught 4 pike as well, lost 2. And then Eli chimes in. He goes, I caught a decent striper on my normal bass gear. Oh, hell yeah, you will, for sure, man. And I might actually be doing some striper fishing too in a couple of weeks. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. We got another call in here in the live well, and this one is from South Jersey, Josh.
Hey, Bobby Roast Beef. This is Josh from South Jersey. I got a question for you. Well, 2. So the first question is, do you feel that baits can be more regional, or with that, do you feel that there's certain baits that are more effective from a boat as opposed to the bank? As I do a lot of bank fishing and find some baits that people always say are great, I just can't get a bite on to save my life for the most part. And second, do you feel that, or is it the case possibly that a bait can fall out of style with fish in your local fish pond? Example, one of my confidence baits would be a finesse-ish paddle-tail swim jig, like a 3-inch paddle-tail swim jig. Past couple years that has been like awesome for me, and I still really do really good on it if I'm fishing for smallmouth, like on a trip, or for stripers. But for some reason this year, the largemouth just don't give 2 craps about it in my area, at least. So can a bait fall out of style with fish? All right, catch you guys later. Thanks. Bye.
I like this question because starting with the first part about baits being regional, I want to say yes. I do. I genuinely think that, because I think of oh yeah, folks that fish these, places up north generally downsize a lot. There's a lot of finesse fishing happening. There's, compared to some other parts of the country. But the reality of it is that there are fish that will eat things of a variety of different sizes. So I don't know if you can say that it's regional, if that's because of the fish or because of the anglers. And it might just be influenced because of locals that are like, oh, I'm killing them on this one plastic, and that takes off. So it's hard to say. As far as the fish go, though, I would lean on the side of throw the shit that you want to throw. And don't worry about what anybody else is thinking. And that kind of leads into the second part of the question, because as far as lures falling out of stop or effectiveness, I think would be the best way to word it. I would say that can fish get conditioned to a presentation? Yup. They will be less sensitive to high levels of vibration at some point. You're going to see bladed jigs slow down, sure. Stuff like that, because of the varying pressure with those presentations. They're going to get used to it. But on the other side of things, there's that show them something different. And I think that that's where it comes into play. So he used the example of a paddle tail swim bait on a jig head. That is a staple in my book. The thing is with a paddle tail swim bait, it is mimicking bait fish, and it does such a good job of doing it that for the most part, I don't know that something like that is ever going to just be useless. What you might need to do is maybe change the specific plastic that you're using. So look at something if you're used to throwing a Kitech, a fat impact paddle tail swim bait, the very, the more bulbous body with that boot tail on the back that's real wide and just kind of flaps back and forth. It has that wide swing. Maybe you look at something a little bit different that's got more of a body roll, something like that as it swims. And that subtle change might be enough to keep those largemouth fired up on it because I do think that there's like overall, like you'll see some fish that are like, we saw this with the Whopper Plopper, right, Joe? Folks would say, they're like, oh yeah, it doesn't work the way that it used to. And it's like, yeah, of course, because fish they're getting conditioned to hear that stuff. Yep. I think there's probably a conversation to have too about like how long does something go by where things change and you're like, oh, okay, we can start using this because these fish aren't seeing it. It's kind of dropped out of popularity. What do you think, Joe? I know.
Yeah. So no, you hit it pretty good. When it comes to regional baits, the way I kind of interpret it is like, oh, is a bait going to work better in this region than another region? Mm-hmm. I don't think so because bass, when it comes to bass, they're predatory fish. They're not like a bias against one bait or the other, especially when it comes to reaction strikes. Obviously colors can play and everything, but like Bobby said, they get conditioned to stuff. They do get, if they have this bait that really caught their eye, but it pierced their lip and all of a sudden they're out of the water, they're going to remember that. They might not hit that next time. You know what I mean? There is an allotted amount of time where they say, they kind of forget, essentially forget what happened. And they'll say, I don't remember what that is. I read it and I just don't remember. But I mean, guess what? If you take like, we don't have, like threadfin shad around here. Guess what? If I throw a bait that replicates a threadfin shad around here, I'm going to catch fish. Yeah. You know what I mean? If I throw a bird bait that looks like a parakeet, I'm going to catch fish. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's just they're predator, and you know what? We might catch more fish because it's something they haven't seen before, or something they don't recognize. So yeah, that's kind of my take. I'm a big proponent of throwing shit I don't think other people are throwing. Yeah, because the fish do come, become conditioned, like that one bait from that plopping bait that we got from Dark Horse. Oh God, I can't. The Anthem, yes, Anthem baits, the Anthem. There's times where they weren't hitting a plopper, but they'd hit that thing because it's just a different noise. Yeah, you know what I mean, and so. Yes, fish get conditioned. They will level out after time, but dude, when it comes to your swim jig and the largemouth not liking it or whatever, we could speculate all day long why they're not touching that, but who knows? It's true. So that's just change a trailer. Try a different trailer, something like that. Instead of doing a paddle tail, try a straight tail. Try throw a craw on the back of your. They're I promise you, the fish aren't like, oh, why is that fish have claws on the back? You know what I mean? Yeah. No, they're just looking for the movement, the vibration, stuff like that. So, dude, you could throw a fucking potato chip on the back of that on that, and they'll still hit it. So, hell yeah. So we got one last one. This one's from Eli, and this I think is a quick one. It's only like 30-some seconds long.
Hey, it's Eli. I got a question for Level again. I've got kind of a two-part question. The first part being, Joe, where in the world do you get these like extra commercials from? I was listening to the most recent episode and a Spanish commercial popped on and I thought my phone glitched. And then also, what has, over the years, I know you guys have been in this a while, what has been your favorite segment or favorite thing you've discussed on the podcast? Yeah.
I don't think he said
what
Joe.
Was the first part of the what about the I didn't catch it, the commercial?
Yeah, I don't think he said Joe. I think he said, yo, what are those commercials that you're running? So okay. Those spots that you hear that run in between the first, second, and third segment of the show, they are spots that we host our show on Spotify. So Spotify has a way that we can monetize the show by putting commercials in. And It uses, we basically, on this, I've got like some like specific products and things that I'm like, yeah, don't advertise this shit, but it's all automated. So like the things that run there, I have no idea what they're in there. I see this on YouTube. Like we get Spanish commercials all the time on YouTube just because where I live in Massachusetts, we have a large amount of population that are Spanish speaking. So they'll pop in, you'll be like, oh, this is for Tide detergent, but it's in Spanish. And we're like, what? So that's what that is right there. And no, you're not losing your mind and your phone is just fine. It is what it is. But now, as far as your second question, I'm curious what Joe's answer is for this. Okay, do you have an answer or you want to?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, go for it. Because mine is going to be very different.
So I have kind of two parts to this because, you know, I was just a listener at one point.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was a host. So as a listener, my favorite was always the Sean the Fisherman stories.
Oh, those are fucking great. Yeah.
You know, that was always my favorite segment. As a host, the live well has been...
It's been amazing, yeah.
Awesome. And we don't get them that often, but I also love the Broke on the Boat.
Yeah, Broke on the Boat is amazing. I agree. I agree.
So, yeah, I kind of probably... I can't narrow it down to just one, but I miss the Sean the Fisherman stories like that. I used to really look forward to those. They're just so wild every time. But it probably the live well and Broke on the Boat when we have them.
So I can't really like pick a one individual like segment or anything like that because like we've had lots of conversations and stuff that have been amazing.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about the show like as a whole is when we go like oddly like off script and do like the super creative shit. So I'll use a few examples. The Howie series, right? Where we had like all the voice acting and the scripting and everything. And like we kind of went and went. It was like that was just bizarro shit. When we had the FTG, Joe, with you and Bill calling in for exactly the same thing, that was like one of my favorite things. I was like, this is fucking amazing. And just like it got a little extra creative. And there's another one too. Oh, when I did, and I remember this is when Joe was like relatively new to the show. And I just gotten back from that trip with the Jabberhammer. And I was like, Paul, let me do one of those bass or ass segments and show you how it's really done. And I put a little bit of production in it, and I was like, I thought like the joke failed totally because both you and Sean were just like, really? Like both of you guys are like, you fucking loser. And if you listen to it back, you can actually, and you think about like that's exactly what it was. But man, it was so good. John throws this out here. He goes, should have Sean the Fisherman call in a monthly story for Fish Tales. That's the other one. Tales from the back of the boat shop. The back of the bait shop.
Bait shop, yeah.
We don't get nearly enough of those stories. And that's the thing. Like, I use AI to create, like, you can share those fucked up stories where things went fucking weird and not use your name, you know, and do that because it's just for the entertainment of it all. You know, it's always good stuff. Todd says that was the best FTG. It really was. It really fucking was. Joe, I know you're running low on time. Let's go ahead and wrap this sucker up. You guys are absolutely awesome. We love you. As always, go and tag us in your fish picks. We've got some info coming for you regarding the September and October tournaments that are going to be going live. And then tournament season is going to drop down until we get to next April. Things are going to kick off again, and it's going to be nuts. Go out there and catch them. Plan your trips. Travel this winter. Go down south. Do what you got to do. Keep creating all that content and tag us in it. For myself and who the fuck is Joe Brown. Have yourselves a great week, everybody. We'll see you guys. And like we always say,
tits and ass, smoke some grass.